Welcome everyone back to the Sanderlanche podcast. I am Dak, and with me is
Joe,
Data,
and Jamie.
So this week, continuing on our walk through Elantris, we are doing chapters 20 to 22. So we finally get all three characters once more for the first time in quite a while. So in these chapters, Sarene has a bit more of a talk with her allies among the court and finally tips her hand to Iadon and negotiates a deal. Meanwhile, Hrathen tries to get an annoying problem out of his hair and finds himself a little bit outmatched and then has a conversation with his opposite number among the Karathi priests. And finally, Rauden and Galadon decide to go confront Shayor and discover Shayor's identity. But before they can really act on that, Sarene's plan comes into motion and they realize, oh god, we've got to solve this right now. So, a lot happening this week. Hang on to something, everyone. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Feed the fire, set me free in this city of dreams. Push my mind into overload. Hack the wire, smash the gene in this city of dreams. We'll be immortal in the code. Mind into overload.
Yeah, I love how just last episode you guys are like, Hrathen's gonna have to do something about try to get rid of Dilloff somehow. I don't know how. And then in the very next chapter that he's in, it's like, I gotta get rid of this guy. And it does not work out well for him. So what did you guys think of these three chapters?
I really like these ones. There's a lot. We're really starting to get into the meat of it now. It doesn't feel so much like setup anymore, which I guess even for the longest time, it did feel like, all right, we're still setting things up. Even when stuff was happening, it's like, well, we're still really just building. Now it feels like we're actually getting to the confrontations between characters. We've got Hrathen's trying to make his move against Dilloff, finally finding out Dilloff is countering him at every possibility. And we ended on Sarene and Rauden are probably going to encounter each other. So it's all starting to come together, which is cool. I did really like the conversation between Sarene and Iadon. She plays him, but has to, give a little to get a little. So that was kind of cool. I know we rag on Iadon all the time, and he's just an atrocious person. But it's nice to see that there are some things he is actually good at. Just
Yeah.
It doesn't just feel like, those 80s cartoon villains who are just so incompetent. Just like, how are you even in power? It's like, no. There's a reason this guy is in power. So it's cool to see that he is actually good at things. And yeah, I also like the conversation between Hrathen and Omen, just showing a little bit more of this little priest who almost seems like a kind of like Uncle Iroh sort of attitude. He's all loving and just really happy to banter with people, even his enemies. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of goes out of hhis way to find this guy up there and kind of have a chat.
yeah. So yeah.
I like your comparison though to 80s villains. Now Iadon is he's like Skeletor or something, where it's like,
Dr. Claw or something.
Dr. Claw, yeah. How did you get this job? Is it just because you have a weird monster arm, Dr. Claw? I don't know how you ended up in charge of this organization.
It's like, let's overthrow this guy, but he has a robot arm. He can't reach us, but he has a robot arm.
And a cat.
He throws the cat at them. So we're coming to depose you.
Okay.
It's just Skeletor, are you just in charge because everyone's scared of your monster face? I don't know
What do
you're
you
doing here.
mean?
Did you guys watch the new Netflix He-Man?
No, I haven't yet. I'm considering it. I've heard it's pretty good.
That's it's Kevin Smith did it, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I won't give any spoilers, but Mark Hamill as Skeletor, also fun. Yeah.
I mean, Mark Hamill's anything is great.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, even that terrible Wolverine video game.
He was in that?
What was it? Wolverine, I think it was X2 Wolverine's Origin or something like that. It was basically a shameless, a game that they were shamelessly advertising based off of the release of X-Men 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with X-Men 2. Is its own standalone story about Wolverine. It's a terrible game. The story's ludicrous, doesn't really make any sense, not great. Gameplay is not that fun. The cover art for the game, it's Wolverine's X2 Wolverine's Revenge is the name of the game. The cover art is Hugh Jackman.
I remember that, yeah.
In a leather suit, but then when you actually play the game, it's Wolverine in a leather coat, in his normal motorcycle gear, and Mark Hamill plays Wolverine throughout the game. It's the voice acting's not bad, but the game is bad.
Yeah. And
the script was very cheap as well, the game script. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Elantris. So these chapters were good. Hrathen's chapter I honestly didn't like, just because it's like now I'm so much into rooting for Hrathen that because I hate Dilloff so much. It's like it's put me in a weird position because I don't want Hrathen to succeed, but I really, really hate Dilloff. So I just want him to go away and never be seen again. And he really kind of painted himself into a corner by raising him up to the status that he put him in. So he kind of made his own bet on that one, fortunately. That was the Sarene chapter was actually first. Let me go back to that one. That chapter was good. I liked the meeting. I feel the same way as Dak. I feel like things are actually starting to happen. We get, especially because we got the Raiden chapter in this grouping that comes after. It's like Sarene made a plan. She told the nobles about the plan. She goes to the Iadon and makes the plan work. And then in Raiden's chapter we see her enter Elantris and she's doing it. So I feel like things are happening in that sense because we're seeing them happen in that way. And as far as Raiden goes, I thought it was good that he recognized her immediately, although it sounds like he's going to try to pretend to be Sheor, I guess, so that could be troubling. And the revelation that Sheor was a little girl is pretty ridiculous. But yeah, no, it was good.
You don't like little girl Sheor?
No, I mean it's goofy to the extent of it's second only to a guy who's actually a stonecutter and wears a mustache and pretends he's somebody else. Karada is seems like the only legitimate gang leader of the bunch in that sense, because it's she was who she always has been. She took up a leadership role. Yeah, she's competent. It's now it's very clear the stonecutter guy's too busy looking at stone to even care about anything else, and this other leader is just a child who's been lifted up as a goddess because her hair didn't fall out because it's fake. So
yeah, she has the wig of leadership. And had the moustache of leadership. So
I think combine both, you'd just be the ultimate.
Yeah, I think we got to come up with a different name for that one. You've got the mustache of leadership, and I'd say this would be the wig of God.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, so I think together, you'd be a leader god. If you had both the wig of godhood and the mustache of leadership. So
it's amazing. Love it. I really liked these chapters as well. It's nice to see Sarene's plan coming together. Every time I read her viewpoint, I just like her more and more. I think she's such a cool character. Dilloff, yeah. What 30 lords or something he's put under him?
Yep.
Dude, you're an idiot. I see Raiden's got a big problem, but yeah, interesting to see. I hope his potion gets there pretty quick. And something else we were hypothesizing about last time was, would Raiden recognize Sarene? And obviously he does. I think I'm married to her. Okay. You think. But I'm really excited to see this sort of start to come together now. Yeah, I enjoyed all the chapters. I do love how Sarene managed to mediate her two fathers into a trade deal. I was like, I'm not really sure that you did your, biological dad any favors there. It sounds like you kind of ripped him off, but Iadon's happy, so that's something. But it was very, very cool how it all came to be, and I kind of like that the act has come down a bit. It's I'm not an idiot, but so far it's working for the king, so I think he'll run with it for a while.
Yeah, he was so irritated at first. It's oh my gosh, you've been tricking me. Now you made me look stupid. It's well, but money though. It's oh right, money.
You've been making me look stupid. Yeah, you didn't need help with that.
No.
It's
the one thing he's good at. It's also funny that Sarene's dad is king, but the government there is so different that it's he's not good at making business deals.
Yeah. He's just I got a room full of accountants. It's well, let me stop you right there. You don't need an entire room of accountants. They're all going to say the same thing. So, maybe a solid 4.
I don't know, maybe they handle different parts of the kingdom or different tasks in the kingdom.
I like how it doesn't show us how that call went. Can you imagine Eventio is just like, my beloved daughter, good to see you, and she's like, yeah, hand you over to my father-in-law now. Wait, what? And then he's just bombarding him. He's like, all right, I want this trade deal, this trade deal. I was talking to my daughter.
Well, but it sounded like they let him know beforehand that this was going to happen or something like this, because
yeah, I know.
Ace is like, yeah, he says that whatever money you need.
Although I did like the line where it was a very knowing look. He was like, I hope you know what you're doing.
Right. He trusts his daughter a lot, so that's nice.
There's also a difference between whatever money you need and put me on the phone with this dickhead.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fair too. I guess let's get into these chapters. So yeah, we start off with the group meeting again, the noblemen. And they're like, hold on a second, you want us to help Iadon now? What? Aren't we here plotting against Iadon? Isn't that our whole thing? And she's just like, look, we can't let him be overthrown by Shu Dareth, basically. That's bad for all of us, okay?
We also, need this idiot to say exactly where he is.
Until we're ready to take him off the throne. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Only we may kill him or dethrone him, whatever. And there's a discussion where she's like, come on. It wasn't the Dread Pirate Crush Throats fleet that did this. His fleet was destroyed 15 years ago. I love how apparently this was a pirate guy 15 years ago, and after his fleet's destroyed, 15 years later, they're like, oh yeah, it's some of that guy. That guy's still around or something.
Crush Throats back, and this time it's personal.
Well, maybe it was personal the first time. You don't know.
All right, fine. This time it's religious.
Oh man.
There's gonna be plenty of booty this time.
I hope we meet this guy.
Right? Yeah. I hope he just pops up somewhere. It's like, yeah, I used to be a pirate. I'm cool now though. So maybe he ended up, his fleet got defeated because he got put into Elantris or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it was 15 years ago, so that was before the Riyadh.
His name just got dropped so many times in this chapter. I was like, oh, he's going to turn up somewhere. We're going to have to meet this guy, for sure.
Yeah, it does seem that way, right?
Maybe there'll just be this one Elantrian who just sort of steps out and just goes, I'm Crush Throat. Someone's using my name.
I know how to sail a boat.
Yeah, Rowden's just interviewing other Elantrians. And what did you do? I used to be a pirate lord. Oh, really? That's interesting. Wait a minute.
Okay, so yeah, she's like, look, guys, helping him financially doesn't mean we like him. It's just, we have to do this stuff. And Royal's like, I hate to say it, but I agree with Ahan. I don't want to help the king. But she kind of, and they're having the discussion. They're like, okay, well, even if we agree with you and we're going to help him, fine. I'm not sure that I agree with that, but okay. How? Do we just start sending him free money? Here, have some money. And Baron Iadon is like, well,
tax hike, big tax hike.
Baron Iadon's like, I don't actually have extra money, just FYI. I'm already almost broke, so I'm not giving somebody some money.
I just had this image in my head of that scene from Friends where, what's the game, Cuts, where Chandler's trying to get Joey to give Joey money.
Oh yeah.
Being given money. They should just invent a card game and be like, you're so good at this game.
It's like, and then Ross wins all the money from Joey.
Yeah, because he's also.
You've been bamboozled. Oh wait, no, that's a different one.
Oh my gosh. And I like Ahan's response where he's like, look, none of us have extra money. If it was extra, then it wouldn't be valuable. So we don't have money to give away either. And so they're kind of talking about, and they go back and forth about what Iadon is thinking, and Royal has a whole thing about how he's got this very concrete way of thinking where it's he's not going to believe us if we try to tell him the truth. Pirates make sense. Another religion sinking your ships to try to manipulate the religion of your country, that's too nebulous for him to believe in. And you're right, they do mention this guy a lot. I didn't even remember how much, because they get into a discussion was that pirate guy Sfordish? And somebody's like, I thought he was Fjordal. And Royal's like, no, I'm pretty sure he was Aeonic. So he's from Erelon, or I guess what Aeonic is basically.
So if he's Aeonic, he could become an Elantrian. That's what we learned with the bloodlines.
And there's Let's see. So basically, I think we get to the end of this discussion, and Serene's just like, "I'll figure something out." And then she kind of sidesteps into like, "Is everyone doing with their plantations like I asked you to?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, we're doing it. How long is it going to take us to see results?" And she's like, "Well, hopefully not more than 2 months, because that's all we have until the next taxing period. So you're screwed if we don't see results in 2 months." But Shuden says, "No, that'll be long enough to estimate how well a crop is going to do. I don't know anything about farming. I'll believe Shuden, whatever." And actually, there's the one thing from the annotations that I was going to bring out here, something that I didn't notice at all. They're meeting in like a garden here instead of at Keen's house. And Keen and Lukel apparently didn't make it to this meeting. Like, they're not in the chapter.
I thought that was actually a nice little touch, because like every other time she's been around other people, she's had those two to rely on, like the family connection backing her up. This time she is actually on her own. It's entirely her against, like, with these people. So I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, I also thought that, like, it kind of lets her stand on her own, and then, like Dak said, but then also it like kind of made me think, well, what's going to come of them not being there to hear this? But I guess they're family, so she would just tell them what's going on.
Honestly, I didn't even notice, I don't think, that they weren't there until I read that. And I was like, you know what? You're right. They're not there. And so we move into her being like, okay, so now I want to talk about my widow's trial. I'm going to go feed the people of Elantris, and I want you guys to come with me. And everyone is super uncomfortable about that.
Hey, I called it.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure did. And she's like, no, this is how we beat the Gjorn. Like, we convince the nobility to go in here and help feed the people, and they'll see that, you know, they're not monsters or whatever.
Side note, we need like a ding sound effect to play every time a prediction we predicted comes true.
We need one. Then we would have to oppose that with like a burr sound effect every time like one is proven wrong.
I don't see.
I want the full Final Fantasy fanfare, like. That
would require us to remember all the predictions, and I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, true. Should really write them down.
Whenever I do like the when I was working on the best predictions or whatever sections, I would just like throw all the files in a playlist and jump to the end of each episode and listen to predictions, and that way I was getting them all right in a row and I could think through them.
Yeah, smart.
But apparently all these guys think that she's a little obsessed with Hrathen. Like, they don't see how this guy is as big a deal as she's making him out to be, which just shows that even if they're kind of the wiser of the nobles here, they don't understand the threat here, because we know Hrathen is a threat. And they're like, well, why don't we just let Omen, like, have the Karathi priests agree, and we'll say, like, yeah, Elantris is bad, whatever, like, who cares? And she's like, no, Omen's not gonna do that. And Han's like, well, I mean, couldn't we just, slip him a few bucks? And no, this particular priest is not bribable for this sort of thing. And they're all like, look, the king's never gonna let you in Elantris anyway. Like, nobody's allowed to go in Elantris. And she uses that against them to be like, so if I do get in, and they're like, you're not gonna. She's like, fine, I'm not gonna, whatever. If I do, will you agree to go with me? I mean, obviously, there's no risk to agreeing to go with me when you're so sure that I'm not going to get in, right?
Yeah. Don't you worry about that. Let me worry about blank.
Blank, you're not seeing the big picture. And once again, Shuden is the first one to jump in and be like, yes, I'll go. And once Shuden is in, the others are like, yeah, okay, fine.
Between this and working out in front of the ladies, Shuden is just a massive show-off. I'll go. I'm not afraid.
It's not like you're going to go anyway, but I'll make sure I have an opportunity to show off just in case you do.
Yep. I'm Jindo, and that's how I do.
And then we immediately cut to her, like, walking down the hall with Aish, and she's like, okay, maybe I was a little bit optimistic about my ability to do all this stuff. And I don't know, did you guys see it coming that she's got a problem and another problem that kind of solve each other here before she got there, or was it a surprise?
Nope, didn't see it coming. Thought this was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked it.
I hadn't put it together. It was good.
I feel like this is one of the few times where I kind of saw it coming the first time I read through. I'm like, no, these problems solve each other. I see it. But I usually go so fast and I'm not thinking ahead. So I also like that when she gets up to the king's quarters and the soldier's like, I'm not supposed to let anyone in. And she's like, well, but I'm his daughter. So you're really going to try to keep me out? Look, man, just let me in. If the king doesn't want me there, he'll throw me out, and next time you'll know. Which is
Another very Monty Python vibe in this one. It's like don't let him out of the room. Okay. And they try and follow the king out. Like, no, you stay here. You got to keep him in the room. Okay.
We're coming with you. No, I want you to stay here and make sure he doesn't leave.
What if we go with him? Then can he leave?
No. If look, I just want you to stay here and make sure he doesn't leave.
How many gold?
No, I just want to go back and watch that. It's been a while since I've done a Holy Grail watch.
That's probably one of the best scenes, honestly. It's like, look at this, lad. All of this. What, the curtains? No, not the curtains.
Curtains. That one burned down, then fell over and sank into the swamp. But the fourth one stayed up. That's what
you're going to get.
Gosh. But no, she comes in, and Iadon's like, really? It's not enough that you, like, bug the shit out of me in public. Now you got to come into my, like, private space and do it too. Get out. If I'd known what a foolish, spindly girl you were, I would never have signed the treaty. I like how spindly comes into it. Like, geez, why can't you be less skinny?
Yeah.
Like,
come on.
Really
have
skin shaming her.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
Princesses can't be so skinny. What?
Well, it's just like Casey and like, you're too tall to be a princess.
Yeah.
And Sarene just comes out. She's like, look, how about this? How about I pretend to be an intelligent human being capable of semi-lucid conversation, and you pretend the same thing. And he's like, son of a bitch, you tricked me. I could have you beheaded for making me look like a fool. Which, really, if that's the truth, if that's in the law that you can behead someone who makes you look stupid, then that's a messed up sense.
I feel like Hrathen would love to know that. It's like, no, if we publicly execute someone, like Iadon's going to have our guts for garters. Meanwhile, Iadon, I will kill you because you made me look stupid.
Yeah.
It's true.
Destroy you.
Stop it. I will destroy you. So she's like, look, I'm here to offer you a deal. Because, it's you're going to lose your kingdom, basically, because of the luck you've been having peddling your silks in Fjorden lately. And I like how Aish is right there with her, and he's like, dude, be careful. Don't push him too hard. This couldn't go badly. And she's like, you lost 75% of your fleet to pirates, so you're also going to lose your throne unless you listen. And he's like, wait a second, how do you know that? She's like, because everybody knows that. I mean, everyone's talking about it. And he goes off. Like, he loses it, and she's like, oh my god, he's paranoid. How has no one noticed this?
Which, that raises a good question. Rowden knew about his secret escape tunnel thing out of his room.
Mm-hmm.
And never brought it up to his buddies in his little anti-Iadon group.
Well, Lukel has to know, because he says him and Lukel played there when they were children.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I mean, none of them want to kill him. Raoden doesn't want his father dead. So what do they really gain by knowing about that passage?
They've talked about maybe killing him,
but they do bring up the whole, like, Sarene says, oh, why hasn't anyone noticed he's paranoid? I'm like, well, surely they would have. If they know about
I see
that.
what you mean, yeah. I feel like probably, like, Royal's apparently his closest friend, so you'd think that he'd probably also kind of be aware. Maybe it's just maybe it is common knowledge and they don't really think it's worth mentioning. That's why Sarene hasn't figured it out until now.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, I mean, Rowden came right out and said it. He tells Karada when they're there, he's like, yeah, he's kind of paranoid. So he's scared of assassination attempts, maybe because he's such a heavy sleeper. And so, yeah, she's like, look, you could make a killing selling your silks in Teod right now. And he's suspicious of this. He's like, this is one of those too good to be true situations, so I'm not going to get involved in this. And he starts to turn her down. And she's like, well, no, I mean, I want a little something for my trouble here. You're going to have to give me something if you want to get this awesome deal. And so now it's like, oh, to tie it on this now makes sense. It's like, she's going to give me a good deal because she wants something out of it. Okay, now it's not too good to be true anymore. And she's like, I want to go in Elantris. And he's like, no. Entry into Elantris is forbidden by law. And she's like, well, yeah, a law that you made and that you can therefore make exceptions to. So it's like the end of Aladdin where it's like, oh, wait, I'm the Sultan. I can just change the law about the princess only being able to marry a prince. Huh. Why didn't I think of that before? And so she's like, look, I want to, he's like, how long do you want to go in? She's like, as long as it takes, basically. And he's like, by yourself? And she's like, well, I want to take anyone who's willing to accompany me. And he's like, well, you're not going to find anyone. And she's like, well, that's my problem, not yours. And so he agrees. He's like, fine, no more than 10 at a time, excluding the guards. I don't want mass pilgrimages into Elantris. And you can have 2 hours from 11 to 1, basically. And you're right. I'm a little bit disappointed that we do skip over the entire negotiation because it sounds kind of fun. Whereas like
What do you want for these silks? $1 million and 3 Hawaiian Islands. Good ones, not the leper ones.
But yes, it's like Iadon senses her father's inexperience with this sort of thing, and he's struck with the enthusiasm of a raging predator. Only Sarene being there kept Iadon from leaking away Teod's entire tax revenue. You'd think that he would have made deals with this country before, but I guess maybe if he did, he worked with accountants and not directly with the other kings. So Iadon's just so happy when she leaves.
Eventio just hangs up the phone and is like, oh, my accountants are going to kill me.
Probably. And he's gonna be like, okay, so I made a deal. Might not have been that great a deal. I don't really know. And all the accountants are like, oh no. Before he even tells them the deal, they're just like head in hands, like, oh crap.
Who let the king near the treasury?
But I do like the little note that it's like, is there anyone you can't manipulate? Aish says, and she goes, Father, you know he gets the better of me 3 times out of 5. And Aish says, well, he says the same thing about you. I like their relationship a lot. Like it's a fun little father-daughter dynamic.
It is nice after Mistborn to have some healthy parental relationships.
No joke. Yeah, we got Keen, who's a good father, and Eventio, geez, his name. We got any other good dads in here? Iadon clearly does not qualify.
Oh,
Well, we find out that
they're really the only 2, but it's still something.
We find out Duke Telri had a daughter, but that didn't go well for him. Let's see. So Aish has a very weird, I think, side track here where they get to her room and Aish is just like, man, your room hasn't been cleaned again. And she's like, well, I didn't make a mess. It's like, yeah, I know, but we can't let the maids be lax in their duties. They have to like give you respect by, doing what they're supposed to do. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, me and the servants get along. It's like, look, you don't understand that what the servants like think of you and if they respect you is also really important. You've kind of never realized this, but look, just take my word for it. This is relevant. And so they get like, I guess the head maid or housekeeping person or whatever after a discussion about Raoden. I kind of forgot that was in here where it's like, she's like, oh, Raoden, he was a better prince than I am a princess, wasn't he? And they have a discussion about how much the people loved him and so on and so forth. Sarene even says the peasants endured Iadon's outrages and burdens because they knew Raoden would eventually take over. The country would have collapsed years ago if the prince hadn't gone among them, encouraging them and reviving their spirits. And there's a sad little moment where she's like, I hope he's watching me. Would he be proud of me? I just want them to accept me. Like I spent 30 years or 25 years, I guess, in this country where people like they respect me, but they didn't like me that much. I want these people to like me. I want to be like one of them.
Just with hindsight, this whole I hope he's watching me, would he be proud of me thing is very ironic considering what happens in 2 chapters.
You're not
and
wrong.
Raoden's actual reaction is like, oh god, no.
Oh shit.
She has messed everything up. Damn it. But then the head maid comes, like Aish goes and fetches her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, nobody cleans your room. I'm so sorry. We lost another girl today, and I didn't remember that your room was on her list." And she's like, "What do you mean lost? Another runaway? They're not supposed to leave. We're indentured like everybody else, but for some reason we have trouble keeping maids in the palace."
Interesting.
Yeah. And then we have like this is a chapter with a lot of little jumps to different things, because then we have another little jump to Sarene in the middle of the night being like, there it is again. I'm hearing this noise. And Aish does not hear it and thinks that she's just nuts. And she's like, I thought seance were supposed to have good ears. You told me that like 5 minutes ago. I don't know, however long ago it was she saw the priest. But
Good
like,
ears.
well,
I don't even have ears.
not when we're sleeping.
Yeah, so here's where my prediction's going to come in. I'm going to go ahead and do it now because this is just in my brain as soon as we were talking about it and as soon as I read it. So earlier the maid mentions that maids have gone missing, and then Iadon is potentially he's the one using this passage because she thinks it's a passage behind her room.
Mm-hmm.
I know we didn't quite get to that part yet, but she thinks it might be a secret passage, and it's always like at the same time. So my prediction is that and this is kind of sinister, so maybe it's beyond Iadon, but I think Iadon is like picking maids to have his way with, and then somehow he makes them into Elantrians, and then they're sent off to Elantris so that they can't like undermine him or get him in any kind of trouble.
That is
Shit, that's
sinister.
dark.
Yeah. When you said sinister, though, my brain went even further. I was like, is he gonna say Iadon's like eating them? Like, what is?
Yeah, he's a cannibal. No, I think it more likely that if they're disappearing, because we've seen that a lot in this book, that like nobles make people, it seems like, are making people disappear. Like Raoden disappeared. We find out later Shayor basically disappeared. They just said that the person died, but in reality they became Elantrians. So
Yeah, no, given the information we have, yeah, maybe. Because her conclusion here is that it's a passage, and she's like, the only place this passage could lead is the king's room, given like this, what wall it's on and where we're hearing this, which we know there's a passage that leads to the king's room. So it kind of supports her theory here. And if she's right, the king is basically sneaking out twice a week for some reason. Or maybe he's sneaking someone in. I guess we don't really know. And she's like, and Aisha's like, why would he do that? Like, he's the king. Why does he need to sneak out through a secret passage? And she's like, I don't know. And Aisha says, oh dear, my lady is concocting something, isn't she? And then Sarene sweetly says, always, gets back into bed and is like, turn down your light. Some of us want to get to sleep. Sassy princess.
They're both sassy to each other, though.
It's true. I like their relationship also. The Seon relationship is a fun one. And really, I guess, well, still, unless you count Hrathen and his boxed Seon, these two are still the only like Seon interaction that we've seen much of at all.
Mm.
Yeah.
So who knows what other people, and there's like, we know that freaky potion making guy has a Seon. You gotta wonder what his relationship with his Seon is like.
Just sit around and get high together.
Right? Yeah, that was my thought. He's like, hey, you want a hit of this? I don't have a
Get
mouth.
high. You shove things up a ball.
Oh my gosh.
We have already seen too many body bags and ball sacks.
This is not a productive area of discussion. So we cut to Hrathen, and Hrathen is trying to find a new head Arteth to take over the job of being in charge of this church, because really his job is not supposed to be dealing with all the little paperwork. But if you remember, he sent the head Arteth off back to Fjordell to retrain or whatever, because he was not doing a good job. So since then, Hrathen has taken over all like the day-to-day duties of being in charge of this church, and he needs somebody else to do this at this point because they're growing so much. And he starts offering it to people, and the people say no. They're like, nope, sorry, I can't accept. And he's like, what? Why? And they're like, I can't give you a reason. I just I can't do it. And like immediately after the first guy, he's like, somehow this is Dilloff's fault. I don't know how, but somehow he's behind this. And so he's like, I got to get rid of him. I mean, he's just too much trouble already. So he comes up with a plan. And honestly, I think it's a decent plan, and it's a lot simpler than what we were discussing in the last episode. It's like, how's he going to get rid of this guy? He's just like, I'm going to send him on a long trip and be like, this is a super important letter. I need you to personally deliver it to Viking Pope, because no one knows about the Seance. So it's a completely believable and legitimate thing that he might need to do. He's like, you're the only one I can trust, Dilloff, so I need you to do this. And so Dilloff's just like, okay, fine. And as Hrathen is walking away, here's Dilloff like call someone in. He's like, okay, send out messengers. We leave for Fjorden in the morning. As Hrathen nearly kept walking, almost didn't care what Dilloff was planning, as long as he left. But something, he's like, he's been in politics too long to let something like that pass.
He's like, wait, what?
Like, I don't want to stop here. It's like Barbaros is like saying, Jack Sparrow, shut up, I'm killing you next after I kill this one. And Sparrow makes a flippant remark. And you just see Barbaros just roll his eyes and go, for fuck's sake, fine, what?
Yeah, I like that. That's a good comparison.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense that Dilloff is prepared for this one, because this is exactly what that Hrathen did to Fionn back in the first chapter. And wasn't Dilaf the one he had tail Fionn? And it's like, all right, if he doesn't get on the boat, kill him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so like Dilaf's just like, all right, I might be next for that treatment. I got to find some way to, overcome.
Yep. And so he's like, who are you taking with you? He's like, well, I mean, you can't expect me to leave my Odivs behind, right? It's like, Odivs? So you've taken, okay. Who did you make your Odiv? And Dilaf's like, I don't know, a bunch of people. Not important. He's like, names. Tell me the names.
Basically everybody. And this is like, this is the point where you're like, oh, that's why that guy didn't want to take the job, because he's probably the Odiv of Dilaf.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh yeah, he's like, oh well, I can't. I'm under Dilaf now, so I can't take this job.
Yeah, that's definitely the impression that I feel like you get, is they're like, oh well, I can't be in charge of this guy because I've already agreed to like follow his lead or whatever.
And like, honestly, up to this point, I thought that you could only have one Odiv, just from the way Hrathen approached it with Dilaf.
Mhm.
It did not occur to me you could have more than one, let alone fucking 30 of them.
Right? Well, and he's like, most priests only call 1 or 2. Some Gjorns have as many as like 10. Dilaf has 30. Yeah. And
the dude's not even a Gjorn, but he's got 30.
Yeah.
I guess there's no hard and fast rules about how many you're allowed to have.
Apparently not.
Seems like the kind of thing.
They're just like, fuck, we should have set a limit, 1 per Hrathen. 1 per Hroden, the other.
Hroden, yeah, no, I followed you.
Sorry, very similar.
And so it turns out that like all of the most important noblemen that are backing Hrathen in the city have agreed to be Odivs to this guy. And Hrathen's like, that's an interesting list. Okay, who were you going to take with you? He's like, well, all of them. I mean, if the letter is as important as you said, then we got to give it the proper protection. We need 30 dudes up here ready to go. And I like even though Dilaf is his Odiv, it has to do whatever he says. Apparently, the way this works, he can't tell him what to do with his Odivs below him. That would be inappropriate. So what Dilaf is saying is perfectly justified. And he's like, oh shit, I can't do anything. He's outplayed me.
He's certainly done something.
The hell out of,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know the hell out of someone without actually breaking the rules. Can't actually be in trouble, but I've stretched them as far as I can go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he really has like dotted all his I's and crossed all his T's here, because he's like, he probably realizes, okay, Hrathen doesn't like what I'm doing. I don't care. I'm gonna do what I want. So let me just go ahead and make sure he can't promote anybody above me.
Every annoying guy in the workplace who knows that he's actually a burden rather than a benefit to that workplace, so he sets about trying to make himself irreplaceable.
And he did it, kind of, sort of, more or less here. But beyond that, even like Hrathen is sitting here thinking like, these people from Erlon, they don't understand what they've agreed to by saying they'll be this guy's Odivs. It may have been easy to trick them into agreeing to this because they don't understand the significance of this relationship, and that they basically agreed to do whatever this guy tells them. So if he orders all of these important noblemen to just pack up and go with him on like a 4-week trip or however long it's going to take, they're going to say no, because like we're not just going to pick up and leave our lands and stuff to help you deliver a letter. That's stupid. But once they've agreed to this relationship, if they break that deal, he then has to excommunicate them from the church, and he's lost all of his most important followers either way. It's sinister and clever, this Dilaf guy. He's sitting here thinking like, Dilaf is unstable. Maybe he's bluffing, but equally likely he would just fuck everything up in spiteful retribution, it says. Personally, I don't have any doubt that Dilaf is not bluffing here. He didn't try to like wave this under his nose. He was just like, fine, I'll go. But Hrathen's like, it's a 50-50 shot that he's bluffing here. I think I don't think those odds are right.
No.
Go ahead, flip that coin.
Because I'll be honest with you, I'm often willing to bet on a coin flip. Like 50-50 is odds that I will play. I don't think that's the odds we're talking about.
No.
No.
Depends on what's at stake.
Yeah. And so he's like, okay, you know what? No, I'll find somebody else to deliver the message. You're just so important. I can't do without you, Dilaf. You're the man. And he takes off. He's all pissed. And Dilloff whispers as he's leaving, like, I am, as always, my Hroden's humble servant. Mine is an evil laugh. Hrathen is just so pissed off. He's like, I gotta clear my head. I gotta go walk. He spends several hours stewing in his office, and then he just can't take it anymore. He walks off into the night. And we get another. This is a section for random little sidetracks because we got like several with Sarene, it felt like. And now we got. He just runs into some beggars, and this beggar's like, hey, some coins, please. And he's like, I've never seen a beggar in the city before. This is weird. And then a boy comes around the corner like, no, not him, stupid. I like how he claims, he's like, I'm sorry, my father loses his wits sometime. So this boy is like, not him, you old fool. Oh, this is my dad. Don't worry, it's fine. Apparently the king forbids beggars in the city because it makes his city look poor if people are out here begging. If he finds us, he sends us back to the farms. And apparently there's like a whole bunch of beggars, and they live out in the ruins of, because there used to be 4 cities around Elantris. Kay is one of them. They kind of live out in the ruins of some of the other 3 cities.
Which I was wondering, like, if anything was going on in those other cities for a while now. I was like, okay, they really just don't seem to talk about them at all. So it's nice to see, like, oh, there is actually a factor, like, in those cities. Like, they're not just, like, husks.
Yeah. For all we know, there could be, like, a whole beggar society out there, and they have a beggar king or something. And
Ooh, Lawrence Fishburne from John Wick. Nice. The Bowery King.
And dude's like, I wasn't always a beggar. I used to work in Elantris. I was a carpenter, one of the best. But then I didn't make a very good farmer. So apparently Iadon's just like, you're a carpenter, whatever. I'm sending you out to work the fields.
It's like, what were you? Oh, you shaped wood in life and you made beautiful creations. Yeah, cool. You're a farmer.
And for the first time, he realizes, he like squints up at Hrathen, and he's like, oh, you don't look like a merchant. Hrathen's probably wearing like his blood red armor and shit. But he gives him a bag of coins. 2 bags, in fact. He's like, this bag of coins is for you, and this one is for your other beggar friends. Good night. So he may have just made friends with the whole beggar community here. Who knows?
So I forgot to mention when this beggar first showed up, like an old man beggar pretending to be blind. I'm like, hang on, Hoyd?
He did. He was talking about his eyesight being bad, huh? That totally makes sense. Yep.
Mm.
New headcanon. Hoyd is Lawrence Fishburne, the king of the beggars or whatever.
Cool.
They don't have to say his name. I know it's him. It's fine. But the guy's like, thank you. And Hrathen's like, thank Jadeath. And dude's like, who's Jadeath? And Hrathen's like, you'll soon know, old man. One way or another, you'll know. It's a very sinister, like, villainous line for him, but it's not really that sinister a statement. I guess he's here to convert the country one way or another, so maybe it kind of is. But at the same time, he's like, oh, don't worry, beggar. You'll find out about God when everyone follows him.
I'll pet him. I'll pet him with both hands.
He heads back up to the walls of Elantris, where he spends so much time hanging out. And he hears footsteps, assumes it's one of the guards, and then there's a voice who's like, it was so much nicer once. And it's Father Omen, who we met last episode. And they have a kind of a weird discussion here, where Omen, I think he's trying to get a feel for what it is Hrathen's after, or how far he's willing to go. And Hrathen's like, how'd you find me? And Owen's like, dude, everybody knows that you spend your nights up here. You come up here all the time and just walk around and stand. And there's apparently debate. The rumors are going around like, why does he go up there and watch the city? And Omen gives him, he's like, some people say this, some people say that. He's like, well, what do you think? And Omen's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me why you climb these stairs every night. I do wonder why you preach hatred of the Elantrians when you yourself simply pity them. And Hrathen's just like, it's not so hard once you accustom yourself to it. A man can force himself to hate if he wishes, especially if he convinces himself it's for the greater good. And Omen's just like, oh, so the oppression of a few brings salvation to the many. Yeah, okay, sure. And Hrathen's just like, look, I'm about to make you irrelevant. Nobody's going to care about Shu Koreth in a few days or a few weeks. You're too docile and unassuming. Shu Doreth is vibrant and dynamic. Like, he just makes he's like, my religion is the hip, young religion. And they kind of talk about truth. And Omen's like, it doesn't matter. The truth will win out eventually. I didn't come here to argue with you, man. I just came here to ask you a question. He's like, fine, then ask it and go away. And Omen says, "What happened to your faith, Hrathen? Well, you must have believed at some point. You've been in the priesthood so long, but you lost it somewhere. I listened to your sermons, and you don't have faith. And I wonder what happened to it." Which, damn, that cuts deep on Hrathen here.
Yeah. Shaken to the core.
Given what we kind of thought about this guy last time, where he's just seemed like this dotty old dude, like, just this pretty insightful moment for him.
Yeah, like I said, this dude's getting his iro on.
Oh, yeah, I get that now. When you said it earlier, I was thinking about in the previous chapters, and I was like, I guess maybe he's a little bit IRO-y. But no, I see what you mean now, yeah.
Yeah, he's like all loving, but he really hits home with some of his points.
Then he just leaves. So, yeah. I want to see more of Omen now.
Yeah, he's like he's secretly like a super powerful monk warrior guy.
Yeah, Shu-Koreth also has monasteries where they train assassins, and Omen's like a master assassin. That'd be badass.
Orman's just like, did you ever hear the story of why I'm called the Dragon of Elantris? And starts breathing fire.
Wait,
I
what?
can get behind that. Yeah.
Yeah. Have I ever shown you how to reroute lightning?
So then we cut to Raoden, who, as we find out, is trying to sneak in and get a peek at Sheor. But he's got to kind of sneak through all the madmen. One of them kind of jumps him. Galadon calls out, like, behind you, Sule. And a bald and nearly naked guy howls and rips through a fence, comes at him like a mad hound. And Galadon smacks him in the face with a board, and then takes a paving stone when he's down and slams it into his head. This is like visceral violence here.
Yeah, it's like zombie apocalypse type stuff.
Yeah. They're getting stronger somehow, Sule. He's like, yeah, you know, we haven't let them have a new arrival in weeks, and they're getting desperate, falling more and more into their bestial state. Galen's like, dude, we should have brought Salen. And he's like, yeah, no, Salen's a good guy, but he is not stealthy. So Sheor is holed up in, I guess, the bank. But as they're progressing, Raoden is thinking, there's no one can say they've seen Sheor. Like, everyone's heard about him, and they refer to this gang as Sheor's men, but no one that he's talked to actually has seen him or knows what this guy looks like. Maybe he's just one of the crazy guys, indistinguishable from everybody else, or maybe he's like long dead, or not dead because you don't die when you're in Elantrian, but you know, one of the Hoed, and the group just continues without a leader. So no one's really sure what the situation is.
And this begs the question of, where did Sheor's name come from?
Right? I was just about to say that.
Got all the people who, they're barely coherent, like raging, mindless zombies. Everyone refers to them as Sheor's band. Who came up with the name? Does Sheor call herself that, or?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, maybe somebody just gave it to just assigned it. It's like, yeah, those are Sheor's guys, and it just stuck. I don't know what the name means. I want to look up and see if I can find out what that Aeon is. Okay, apparently the Aeon is Aor, but this does not say what the definition of that is. So who knows?
It's the Aeon for crazy.
Yeah, it might be. Although I don't know how that would work in the magic. It's like, I'm going to use the crazy Aeon on you. You'll be crazy.
Yeah. Maybe it means like goddess or something. Who knows?
Could be.
Well, if one of her men had made it up, then that would make sense. I was trying to think of like, if somebody on the outside is making up the name for these people, then what would they?
Yeah, but I mean, who really knows about the gang leaders besides the people, like, knows the names of the gang leaders? I guess they do, because Sarene knew them, but at the same time, I find it hard to believe that, like, they're that well informed on the outside of what's going on inside, so it would make more sense if somebody named her in there.
Well, no, I mean, like, if somebody from outside her gang, like one of the other Elantrians.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe, yeah, that makes sense too. They're like, somebody just came up with it. It's like, oh wow, that person is, this new gang leader is a Sheor. I mean, I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, so Raoden has decided now the time has come. We're gonna figure out what is up with Sheor. And so they're holed up in the bank, and Raoden's like, no, yeah, that makes sense. It's good defensible. There's one entrance sort of thing. Apparently the Elantrians maintained a bank for the local merchants, and everyone considered a bank inside Elantris to be way more secure than one in K, which makes sense when everyone is magical and stuff. Nobody's going to come and rob them. So they I guess they managed to sneak in. I don't know how you do it, how you like cross into the bank without somebody noticing. But they find the vault door, a large circle etched with the Aeon Edo. See, now I want to find out what Edo means. Now that I've gotten into looking at these Aeons. Aeon Edo is protection or safety. Makes sense. And Rowden, he says he took a deep breath, ready to confront the last of the gang leaders, and he hears a high-pitched wail screaming, "Bring me food!" And they look in there. Sitting on a pile of gold bars, there is a young girl in a pristine, unsoiled pink dress with long blonde hair, although her skin shows she's clearly an Elantrian, and 8 men in ragged clothes kneeling, and she's screaming, "Bring me food!" And Galadon says something that I don't understand, where he's like, "Well, behead me and see me in Dolokin." What is that?
I don't know.
It's the jeweler way of saying, well, fuck me sideways.
Yeah, I guess so. And Sheor's like, Rowden's like, "That's Sheor." And apparently they're not hiding real well because she sees them and screams, "Kill them." And Rowden yelps and runs.
I love how he's looking at her, and it takes him a while to realize she's looking back at him. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I pictured it like, they were hiding and like peeking around the corner and maybe not being seen. But apparently they were in the open enough for her to spot them real easily. Also, I guess probably the if it's a giant like safe with a huge door or whatever, it's probably not that big a vault. Like the room's probably not that big. So I'm just trying to think bank vaults. They're not. Well, I don't know.
Well,
I guess they can be.
I don't know. Yeah, it depends. I mean, this is a fantasy world, obviously, but like a standard, like classic, what people think of when they think of bank vault doors, they're usually about like 8 feet tall, at least the ones that I've seen, like the old classic looking ones, and they're circular. But smaller buildings or bigger buildings may have different sizes ones.
Yeah, that's fair. We once again we skip over what you might think is the interesting part, where they're running and trying to figure out how to get away from the middle of Sheor's territory as the wild men try to kill them. And we just cut to Galadon being like, "If you weren't dead already, I would kill you, getting me into this shit." And they lost Sheor's men the same way by climbing up the side of a broken wall and hiding on a rooftop. And like it says that these guys were running around all the time, never thought to look up and see if they were up there. So they're just not real smart. And Galadon, he's like, I don't get what just happened. And Rowden's like, "Oh, I think I get it. Did you see them kneeling? Like, she's their god, like this living idol. In like the grime and sludge of Elantris, you got this one like pristine, beautiful little girl. Maybe, I don't know if beautiful because she's got the Elantrian skin going on, but whatever. So they're like, basically they're worshiping her.
Yeah, I mean, she's got beautiful golden hair. They probably think she's like some kind of goddess immune to the complete effects of the Rayod, I guess.
Yeah. And so he's like, yeah, they make an altar, they put her on there, she screams for food, so they get it for her, and she blesses them, quote unquote. And Galen's like, "How does she have the hair?" And he's like, "No, I recognize her. It's a wig. She was the daughter of one of the wealthiest dukes in Erelon, Duke Telri. Hey, we know that guy. She never grew hair, so her father had a wig made for her, and I guess the priest just never removed it when they sent her in. I guess she's been there 2 years, which is longer than a lot of people that we've met. And Duke Telri always said she died of Dionia, whatever that is, but there were rumors." And Galen's like, "Apparently the rumors were true." And he's like, "Yeah, I guess so. I only met her a few times. I can't even recall her name. I do remember that she was the most spoiled, insufferable child I'd ever met." And Galadon's like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense." And Rowden's like, "Well, you were right. We're not going to talk Sheor over because she was unreasonable on the outside. She's got to be 10 times worse now. All she knows is that she's hungry and they bring her food." And then they get back to the city and the dude standing guard is like, "Dude, Captain Salen's kind of pissed off at you." And Rowden's like, yeah, I'll apologize later." And I like that they now have like these checkpoints where you get into their section of the city. You got to change out of your dirty shoes into the clean shoes, wash off some stuff with a bucket of water waiting here. They're trying to keep their city clean. It's kind of nice. Can't do anything about the clothes. There's not cloth. There's not a lot of cloth here, so can't make new clothes for everybody, but you do what you can do. But so they've got this section of the city, this area of the city sectioned off with only 11 streets entering, so it's actually kind of a big section, I guess. And they got these checkpoints. They have people guarding for when Sheor's men attack. And Rowden at this point is like, "I don't know what we're going to do about Sheor. Like, there's no reasoning with her, and she has the biggest army, and they're all nuts. We're not going to beat them by force. And for the first time ever, Galadon is just like, no, it'll be okay. You'll think of something. I believe in you.
Aww.
Which just makes Rauden more like, oh, man, I don't know how. Yeah, it's a fun moment to be like, oh, Galadon's your friend. He's trying to make you feel better.
Yeah.
And that's when we get this thing where he reaches up and a piece of the building breaks off. You're like, this marble is like softer than soapstone. And Galen's like, yeah, it's Elantris. Things decay quickly. He's like, but this is stone. It's been 10 years. That a building should not be breaking apart in my bare hands. That doesn't make any sense. And Rauden theorizes that it has something to do with the door, because all these buildings used to like the very stones glowed in Elantris. We knew that, right? They told us that. So he's like, this energy from the door must have infused everything. And for so long that now that it's gone, it's like the stone, it's lost something. It's empty. And Galen's like, well, how can a stone be empty? And Rauden's like, well, like this. Look, I can just like crumble this marble up in my hand. And Marishi runs up. It's like, Lord Spirit. And Rauden's like, oh, crap. Another attack? No, we're being invaded. By whom? We think she's a princess. Like, invaded was the choice of words when a princess shows up.
Oh, Marishi knew exactly what he was doing.
He's like, wait a minute, that's my princess.
That is what he says. Well, the first thing he says, like, Rauden's watching her from far away as she is walking and looking around, unafraid, it says. And he's like, I only saw her through Seon. I didn't realize she was so beautiful. That's kind of sweet, given that they're married or whatever. And I was like, wait, you recognize her? And he's like, yeah, I think I'm married to her. That must be Sarene.
It's kind of sweet. It's also kind of a bummer.
And Galen's like, what's she doing here? And he's like, no, more importantly, what's she doing here with like a dozen of Erelon's most influential nobles? That's Duke Royal over there. And Galadon's like, oh, so that must be Shuden. And I was like, well, hold on. Once again, simple farmer man. How do you know this shit? And he's like, look, everybody knows Shuden where I'm from. She's that important. We're big Shuden fans. Everyone loves Shuden. I don't know what it is.
All the ladies love Shuden. Even the Duladelian ladies love Shuden. They're all over him.
And Rauden's up here like, then that's Ahan and Iandel? What is this woman planning? And then they see the cart piled with food, and Rauden is like, we're in trouble. And Galen's like, what the hell are you talking about? I see food. And my intuition tells me she's going to give it to us. So how is that bad? And of course, Rauden doesn't know anything about Hrathen and the plotting and whatever that's going on out there. So he's just like, she's doing her widow's trial. Only a foreigner would think to come into Elantris for that. Like, she's crazy. But he makes a point. He's like, look, we were just starting to get this sense of independence. If all of a sudden people start getting fed, just food handed out to them without having to do anything, we're going to lose the momentum that we've gathered. And Galen's like, yeah, you're right. Even I was just like, oh, now that I see the food, I'm like, oh, now I remember that I'm super hungry. Not only that, but what happens when Sheor and her men find out about this? They're going to come in here and like rip these people apart to get to this food. And Rauden's just like, oh, you probably mean well, but this is the worst thing that you could do. Damn it. And so they go back and Marishi's like, so what did you see her? Yeah. What does she want? And then we hear her yell out, I want to speak to the tyrants of this city. Andon, Karata, and Sheor, present yourselves to me. And Rauden's like, how the hell does she know? And Marishi's just like, she seems really well informed, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
And so he sends for Karata and is like, have sail and bring some soldiers. We're going to meet at the university. And Marishi's like, I can go fetch him if you want. He just always wants to be helpful. And Rauden's like, no, you're going to have to practice being Andon. Which is a bold choice, but okay.
And he's just like, get me my mustache.
Yeah, he has to have the mustache of leadership, right? That's the only way to do it.
Give me my mustache and my nice shoes.
We're going negotiating.
When White Goodman puts on his shiny shoes. So that is the end of the chapters. What do you guys like? Let's do predicaments. What do you guys think is going to happen? How do you think this meeting is going to go specifically?
Badly. Yep, for whatever reason, just like we're still early days in the book, so I feel like this is really going to be a conflict that's going to play into if not Hrathen's hands, then Dilaf's. I feel like things are going to go to hell. Someone, possibly Shuden, just is going to die in this little raid, because I think they're right. Sheor's men are going to attack. Someone's going to die in this raid, and Iadon is going to start swinging more towards Hrathen's and Dilaf's side of things. Like, yep, the Elantrians are bad. Going to have to do something about them. Like Raiden even predicted that. It's like, well, if one of the nobles dies, then Dad's going to come in here and just like, look, kill them all. So,
Yep.
I mean, granted, he doesn't exactly have the best army for that, so that could also go pretty badly. But we'll see.
It's not like the Elantrians can defend themselves very well, so.
No. But so I don't see this going very well at all. I think Sarene is like, I don't want Sarene to come out of this feeling like shit, because I feel like she's copping enough as it is, and she's genuinely trying to do well. But yeah, this isn't going to go well, and she's going to be guilt-ridden over how this goes down.
Yeah, you said Shuden dies, and I'm like, oh, can't it be like Iadon or someone?
No,
I like Shuden.
It's like to really hammer home the tragedy of the thing, and the fact that Sarene has just mentioned, it's like, man, that's the second time Shuden has been the first one to throw his support behind me. I'm like, Shuden gonna die.
Oh, the ladies will all be so sad.
Yep. And then they'll be more intent, like ready to take up fencing. It's like, we must avenge the hot guy.
That would be amazing, actually. Okay, fair enough. Any other more general predicaments?
I am leaning towards, by the end of the book, Hrathen is not going to be on the side of Fjordell. I think his little that question from Omen that got under his skin. He's like, wait, if I don't have faith in the Fjordell in Shoot Dereth, what the hell do I have faith in? He's going to have a crisis, and he might actually wind up turning and fighting for the good side.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a setup for that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, if you have a crisis of faith, then you gotta go somewhere with it.
Yeah, I think we've established in the last few chapters, it's like Hrathen's not actually a bad guy. He doesn't believe in killing people wantonly, and he doesn't believe in, he does genuinely try to be moral in setting forth his religion. He's not happy that in Duladel it all turned into a bloodbath, and he's trying to avoid that. So I think he might be convinced that to do things that are, it's the whole to be lawful or to be good. So I feel like he might actually turn.
Is that where if we're doing like the alignment chart, is he does seem lawful to me? Is he lawful good or lawful evil? Or
I'd say he's lawful evil with a chance to turn. Okay.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like he's not that lawful though, because he doesn't. Even though he professes this faith, he clearly has some misgivings about it, and he goes about circuitous routes to achieve his goal. That seems like a more chaotic thing to do, in my opinion. But
that's fair.
Yeah. Now that you say that does feel a little bit. He's very ends justify the means, I think is what you would call that, because he's like, this may not be exactly within the rules. Yeah. I'm working with this guy who's not really that dedicated to make weird potions, but as long as in the end Shu-Dereth is helped, then it's fine.
Yeah, and I feel like that's definitely more of a chaotic way to go about it.
Now I'm looking it up. I'm seeing like ends justify the means. What alignment would that be? Wiki says that the ends justify the means is the creed of lawful evil. Lawful evil characters may actually have admirable goals, but the means that they are willing to take are more often than not deplorable. They're often better versed in the letter of the law than the best paladins, and they stand ready to twist every phrase to suit their goals. Interesting.
Yeah, but I would argue that I don't know. I don't know that his means or the way he's going about his business is necessarily the most evil part of him. Yeah, okay.
Well, while you're going, what kind of predicaments do you have? How's this meeting going to go? Anything?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Dak on this one. I think because he recognized her so quickly and because he knows her so well from speaking with her, he's going to assume the identity of maybe Sheor for the purposes of the meeting, because he may not want any of the other nobles to know who he is, but he's going to find a way to communicate to her that he is Raoden. And so that this is going to be where they cross paths and actually like are able to maybe start working together, one from in Elantris, one from outside Elantris. I think maybe this will be the turning point. We're about halfway through the book, so it would make sense to me to like that something would shift here. So that's what I think is going to happen. Maybe it won't come at this meeting because it sounds like she's going to make several of these trips. So, but I think for sure there's going to be some communication between them. And Sarene's chapter is next, so hopefully we're just going to pick right back up, but from her perspective for what happens after that. And yeah, with the Wraithen stuff, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if he'll be turned or if he's just going to do his thing, but his story, I feel like, even though he's had some connections with Sarene, I feel like his story is almost the most separated.
Yeah, so far that's probably
the goals, at least, of the character are way separate from the goals of the other two characters and the motivations and all that stuff.
I don't know. Sarene has made a lot of her chapters have been her trying to plan against him.
Right.
So
yeah,
to the point that the nobles are like, we think that you're giving this guy more attention than he deserves, really.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So I'm not really sure where that's going to go. I think the stuff with Dilof's going to come to a head. I mean, it's going to have to at some point. Maybe he ends up being the worst part, like the worst threat. But yeah, with the Elantris of it all, like Sheor's men are going to show up at some point. So all this food, it's not going to bode well for the immediate future of our characters. But I think hopefully Raoden will be able to get across who he is to her, and then we'll they'll have that connection after that. And even if he is a weird zombie thing, maybe she'll feel like happy that she's made that connection with him finally.
Okay, so I didn't think he was necessarily Raoden was going to assume Sheor's identity. Did they say that exactly? I knew they said that the other guy was going to have to pretend to be Andon.
Yep.
No, that was just part of my prediction.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was probably in his best interest to get his ass down there really fast. To be like, don't do this or something, or I don't know. If he's recognized her, there's a chance that she'd recognize him, but also the people that she's got with her would recognize him as well, quite possibly.
Yeah.
So maybe not immediately at first, but if they were talking to him, surely they'd go, hang on a minute, we know who you are. So for him to show up masquerading as a different leader, I don't know that would work. But yeah, they're going to have to find a way to be able to talk to each other somehow. I'm not quite sure how they'll do that, but they'll get there. There's also the chance that Sheor would turn up, maybe, or someone from the gang would turn up. But you've also just brought in a whole bunch of food, which they are like obsessed with food, and have quite clearly, Sheor's made it pretty clear that get me the food. Yep. So I would say that they're probably going to get attacked. Like the Elantrians aren't going to wait around for the leaders to turn up and it all be civil. They're going to just go for it. So I think they would probably get attacked soon. Yeah, maybe for the first visit they'd get attacked or something. I don't know. Somewhere in there that's going to have to probably happen at some point. That's probably all I've actually got at the moment.
Okay.
Jack, can you maybe come and just settle her for a second?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Predicament? Yeah, Wraithen's chapters are kind of on the outside. I don't know. I'd almost like to see him become an Elantrian between him and Dilof, because then it would just be the other side, especially now that he's having this. Well, it's been pointed out to him that he's having this crisis of faith. That might be interesting to see how that would work. But I mean, immediately would he lose all credibility in the church? Probably. But I expect that he will probably be doing one of his wall walks at night, and maybe Sarene would find a way to get back into Raoden, or Raoden, after seeing her, would get out to see her somehow. Maybe that's where this passageway will sort of come into it as well, because he obviously knows about the passageway too. So that could happen. I don't know. I don't know exactly how Raoden's going to tie in yet, but it's nice to see the two storylines for Raoden and Sarene starting to come together now. So
Yeah, that's something we've been waiting for a while, I guess. So
Yeah. And I mean, we are about halfway through the book now, so that
Yep.
it's got to start to happen at some point. We're definitely not at a point of being able to tie up loose ends or anything like that, but we've got to have a bit of that story come together now, which is exciting to see that starting.
yeah, 51% according to my Kindle is how far we are. So yeah, right at halfway. So do you think Joe was thinking that he tells her who he is or tries to communicate that in some way? Do you think that Rowden tells her like ASAP that who he is, or does he keep that a secret? Or
I feel like it's in his best interest to do so, but I mean, when do these characters do things in the best interest?
That's so
have a story really, so he probably won't. I don't think he'd be able to pull off unless the moustache of leadership was enough of a disguise. Maybe he could borrow that. I don't know. Find a monocle somewhere. Who knows? I feel like he would be better off to make it known. I think Sarene is smart enough that she would be able to keep it under wraps, probably, because she's suspicious that something has happened. I don't think she's expecting him to turn up as an Elantrian, but she's definitely suspicious over the circumstances of his death or disappearance.
yeah.
So if he turned up, maybe it'll be a case of they get the leaders together. He doesn't pretend to be a leader, but he's standing in the crowd or something. If there's people down there, because I'm assuming it wouldn't just be a case of 3 leaders turn up and everyone else stays away. We know that Andon's not going to turn up, and this guy's going to stand in for him instead. But Sheol's the one they've got to watch out for. And I guess everyone else knows. I mean, Karada knows who he is, and the rest of the gang know that he's this new leader, but obviously that information hasn't translated to the outside yet.
No.
I don't know. I would like to see them. I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of the whole. If only we'd actually had a conversation about this earlier, we could have avoided all of this unnecessary. Just at some point, just tell them who you are, and we can progress the story from there. That's sort of what I would like to see happen, but who knows?
It does seem like it's in his best interest, like you said, right? I'm not sure what he would gain by keeping it a secret at this point. Like, I don't know how that helps you. Yeah,
I get maybe keeping it from as many Elantrians as possible, because you don't want them to all be like, oh my goodness, it's our crown prince, blah blah blah. But from her, like, she's clearly up to something, so it would make sense to identify himself to her.
Yeah, I agree. So hopefully, I also agree with you that I'm always a fan of, let's not have the sitcom thing happen where they never talk about it and it turns into this wacky misunderstanding. So it would be nice if we could avoid that.
Yeah, if you had just been honest with each other in the first place, you could have avoided half of this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I've got.
Makes sense. Okay. And really, we're pretty much wrapped up at this point. For the next episode, we are reading 3 chapters again, so we're gonna get everybody's perspective once more, just not quite in the right order. We will have, what is that? We just got Rowden, so it's once again Sarene, Hrathen, and then Rowden's next perspective. After that, we start moving into bigger chunks, so it'll get a little more random. But anyway, so next time, for people reading along, chapters 23, 24, and 25. We do not have, since yesterday when we recorded the previous episode, any emails or reviews or anything like that. So nothing to mess with there.
I mean, we could have, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I did check just in case, but I wasn't expecting to have anything coming through. So if you would like to send us emails, the email address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the various places that things happen on the internet. All the unsavory sorts of locations.
Unsavory?
I don't know. Yeah, Facebook is very unsavory. What are you talking about? Everyone knows that. You're gonna get some news about taking some horse deworming medicine and how that'll fix everything.
Oh dear God.
Data, I'm back. Are you sure I can't get my news from Facebook?
I mean, you can. You really shouldn't.
But that's, it has to be verified if it's on Facebook, right? People can't just get on there and say whatever they want.
Oh, my goodness. See, Yeah, we're not gonna get into it. We
Okay. I'll
we are
take my
people.
answer off the air.
We're people raised on the internet and who were taught from the beginning of the internet that you shouldn't trust what's on there. So
You'd be surprised. There's people much younger than me that believe everything, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with you? Be discerning.
Yeah, I know, and that was part of what I was like. Maybe it was just because I was around when it first started becoming a thing, and everyone's like, "No, you can't believe all the things you read on the internet."
Yeah.
People are against Wikipedia because anybody can just put anything out there. Yeah, and nowadays people are like, "Oh no, Wikipedia. I use that to do every single report for school, so it must be accurate, right?"
Yeah.
My day in high school where they announced you cannot use Wikipedia as a citation in your essays. Fuck.
I think teachers have just stopped fighting at this point. You're like, they're gonna go to Wikipedia. There's nothing we can do about it. So whatever. Anyway, that was a little side trip that we took. But
It's a weird digression.
I know it was.
Even for us, that was a weird
It
digression.
might get completely cut when the time comes. We'll see.
No way you can't cut old man Joe. He needs to know about his news.
Oh my goodness. So yes, music by Miracle of Sound, and Wussing to the Time of Next. Colo?
My name's Iadon, get up, get out.